Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Doby, and today, hey, you see how that bass started coming out? I'm telling you, when you talking to the woman that sing and put it down the way all the bass come out the voice. Her name is Dakari Eli, and she is an amazing, multifaceted creative. She is not only a songstress, a spoken word artist as well, but she is the editor in chief of one of the most respected urban magazines on the planet, Urban Magazine. Man, thanks for being with us. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Awesome. The honor's mine. I get to talk to somebody who could sing ABCs, Mary Had a Little Lamb, whatever, and I'm good. Holler at your boy. Sing something. You don't have to sing right now. Just play. All right. I want to be serious, but I just let you know I don't do interviews. I do conversations. So I hope
Mm.
you can tolerate me a little bit. I do play. I am crazy, and we got to have fun with your talent. This is amazing. As I wrote about you, and I meant every word. You know, your masterful use
I
of timbre and
can't
intonation.
even tell you.
A You took me
The
there.
way you every word. I mean, I swore I hung on every word there for a few weeks. I just kept reading it over and over again.
I
Just
appreciate. I'm
it
flattered.
touched me.
I'm flattered. I appreciate it. I really care about music and I love it. I don't make music, although somebody sent me a guitar and I'm supposed to have been learning how to play it like a year ago. My
It
musical,
does take some work. It does take and some, you know what it is? Discipline. It takes discipline. You have to say, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna work on this guitar. I don't care if it's just 20, 30 minutes. It's the best way to get it done.
you're right. You're right. And I am very bad. Look, I'm honestly, since I left the military, I have rebelled against organization, timetables, calendars. I'm not going to say what else I protested, but anyway, I I need to do it, but it's not about me. It's about you. You have an amazing instrument that you use in so many ways. Talk to me first and foremost. For those
Yes.
of us who are just getting familiar with you as an artist, and we'll
Mm.
touch on journalism later, but as an artist, from the inside looking out, talk to
Mhm.
us about Dakari Eli.
Well, it's what I have to do. Um, it's one of those things where I don't have a choice. I feel like when you're an artist, you have to create art. Whatever your art form is, whether it's singing or it's writing or dancing or acting, comedy, that's an art form. And it's something that I've done my whole life. I've struggled with stage fright. I've struggled with just not being sure of myself. Uh, Writing and journalism and podcasting has helped me find my voice, and it's also helped me find the confidence. And I just feel so much more self assured, especially after this last project. This last project, Cuffing Season, because I did it all at home.
Really?
Uh, yes, I did it all at home, right from my bedroom. And I didn't have any distractions. I didn't feel like I had any, again, because I deal with that stage fright and people are around. Even though it's funny, I've been singing since I was 5 years old. I sang Whitney Houston's Greatest Love of All was the first song I ever sang. I was 5 years old at a talent show. And from there on out, I was always singing duets and solos, etc. In grade school, middle school, high school, solo festivals, competitions, everything. I've been operatically trained, but I still have that. So, working in the studio with others around, sometimes it can be very distracting for me. But
Mm.
Cuffing Season, being able to put that together, no one around but me, and I get to go through my layers without being infiltrated.
Right. Right.
Pretty much like my ideas being, altered in any way. I get to be raw. So
I
that's
think
that's and it's everything. It's everything. It's a chance for me to express myself in ways that sometimes I feel like in your art you can express yourself in ways that you'd be judged otherwise. So it's like a judgment-free zone.
I was judging. 888 had me going. I was like I
That
told
was
him, like it's not about that, but it's about that, but on a whole different level. So when you're telling me that, you're able to closet yourself away with
mm,
no outside interference or input to
mhm,
distract you, you can
mhm.
just go there with yourself
Yes.
and deliver that on a track, whether it's spoken word, whether it's singing. Now, on the singing part, are you formally trained or is this just
Yes. Well, I had a few teachers from day one, honestly, that took me under their wing. I had Siesta Quinn. She was amazing. She took me under her wing in grade school. And then in high school, I had another teacher who took me under her wing, but she was more operatic. And that's when I started to do more like competitions.
okay?
Here in New York, we have what's called NYSSMA, NYSSMA. It's the New York State Solo Music Association. And you sing in front of a panel of judges. And then from there, I just kind of went into my own, like, I was listening to more mainstream stuff. And yeah, I was a teenager. But I said to myself, I have to go back to school for this.
Hmm.
I want to learn all the dynamics, all the components. And I was able to gain a scholarship through the Ulrich Trustees Foundation. And they gave me a scholarship to take private lessons for my music performance degree. And it was amazing. I was able to train under a Juilliard graduate who was also an opera singer in, down in the city. So I was able to learn from her. And I was able to learn how to use my voice. I was already good at pretty much, I think we kind of like we mimic as singers, we learn as we're young, we get older, we learn from artists that we love and we aspire to be like. But she taught me how to use my voice in a way that was, I mean, it just stretched the boundaries. There were no boundaries. Um, so I was able to kind of pour that into, as you heard, wielding many styles. When I heard that, I said, yes, he gets it.
Yeah, it was a really nice journey. You know, I find it unique in this day and age for people to take you on a journey that includes a bunch of emotions presented in different manners to take you to different levels. Like it
Mm-hmm.
just depends, you're doing what you do, you're relaxing,
Mm-hmm.
you put on this joint and you put yourself in a state of mind to receive what's being presented. And it could take you there if you allow it. Like she
Right.
told me earlier, I need to put 20 minutes aside for learning this dang on guitar. You got to put that 20 minutes aside to just connect with something that moves you or tells a great story. Just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, get away from the detritus of the day to day in the city. You're living in New York, so detritus is not a new thing. It's everywhere, physically, kind of like LA downtown. I'm just saying. But anyway, you know, the enjoyment
Mm-hmm.
of someone who just told me that to them music is kind of like air. You're
Mm-hmm.
you're breathing it. You gotta have it.
Mm-hmm. I do. I do. There's no other way around it. I mean, I treat it as my therapy when necessary, especially my writing.
Mm,
I think a lot of people miss the writing. I think a lot of artists or aspiring artists, they don't get it yet.
Mm,
That writing, the messaging, sometimes being clever,
mm,
witty. I like those nuances.
mm,
So those are really important to me. And through my therapy and through just expression, I write and I kind of bleed into whatever it is. I pour into, but it's like more than that. It's more than just like it's everything. I'm sure as you heard in 888, the spoken word, like the way you said my use of timbre, you're so spot on in everything that you said because I love to play with my voice.
mm.
I like to talk like this. And then there's other times where
Don't
I'm
do
like,
that. Don't do that
where,
today. Don't do
where,
that
where,
today.
where I'm just like, it's my R&B voice. I was told, stop using your R&B voice. You know, it's really
Okay.
bad in the morning when I first wake up too. Don't talk to me first thing because
Oh
the
wow.
bass is there. It's
Okay.
the alto is there.
How to?
But I have a voice though that's all over the place because I can sing the Denise Williams. I can hit, I'd say 95, maybe 96% of the Minnie Ripertons. So it's there. And I like to stretch. I like to play.
Okay. Now you know you stepped in it when you said Minnie Riperton. That woman there had a voice and a command.
She
She
was
was
just, that's why I said 95%, 96, because I still, there's a couple notes that it's like, maybe if I'm really warmed up in the shower, I can. She was just amazing though. I mean, it was so effortless for her, you know? I don't think I'd sing a Minnie Riperton song live, certain ones, just because I don't want to have the struggle face.
hey, yeah. When you get a singer that's up there and got bitter beer face trying to hit some notes, that's ugly.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I mean, I can see maybe if it's a fraction of a second for something like this little, but no, I don't want to sit up there and work the whole time. And no, I can
Look,
make it happen for the studio though, for like top notes when I'm harmonizing.
okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, well, we've all experienced a certain verses that was a bunch of R&B people that didn't hit their note.
Which one are you talking about?
Well, you know them boys and that guy, they know that was a disaster. They couldn't sing live. So
Yeah.
do I want to say it? I could say it because you know what? I'm 60 years old. I don't care.
You
Amarion and Ray J got on that dang verses and uh-uh.
well,
There's
it was surprising. I thought that Amarion was going to do a little better than he did. Mario, he put it to shame.
yeah,
Put it to shame. And I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting it to be such a big difference,
right.
between the two singers.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It was almost like, Jadakiss taking on Dipset by itself. Anyway, I'm just saying, I can say it, but I can outrun anybody for 10 feet. That I know they gonna come after me after 10 feet, we just gonna have to get it in. Like I'm gonna be explaining. But anyway, I am excited because you're standing strong and delivering in a very powerful way. It's so pleasant to meet an artist through their work that is that in touch with themselves and cares to deliver like the finest points, like a master craftsman. I mean, you had a blank canvas and
mhm.
pulled out a Basquiat real, I'm like, damn,
Aw, I
okay.
appreciate that. That's beautiful. Thank you. I really, it really feels good to have this type of feedback. I love when I get feedback from people because it's just so it's like I'm glad that I was able to touch you. I'm glad that it was understood, because I think sometimes as artists, that's the worst feeling is not being understood. through our craft. So I'm just glad that you got it.
Grown man. Of course I got it. Grown man. I got it. I got it.
I
And
well,
I love
888 was
and I
look.
love music. I came up, my mother was a concert pianist. So, not only the messaging and the connection through the song and the visual, playground that was jumping off, I love the technicality of the product. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And then I got emotional with it, about the third or fourth listen. And so, but I knew I had to talk about them. Like, there's something here that we're not talking about. I'm not seeing any of the R&B
I
journalists
mean,
talking about it like this. So, and just,
I appreciate that you noticed that because I honestly, people that have influenced, of course, like Flowetry,
mm,
Jill Scott,
mm,
Erykah Badu, they were heavy hitters for me through my development as far as
mm,
being an artist. People like Alicia Keys, this so much of their energy and that emphasis was put into how I wanted to deliver
mm,
because I connected to it. And that was the thing. I want people to connect to what they hear the way I connected to these other artists.
mm,
Everybody has a story, everybody has experiences, but I feel like there's like a common thread throughout that all of us, we all experience pain, we all experience love, of course, we all experience yearning, we all experience kind of like just like a state of loss. We have these very human experiences, and I just once I heard these other artists, I mean, of course, we're talking like old school Whitney Houston and Patti LaBelle. Those were also big people for me. Then Mary J. Blige, like all these different influences that came into play, but they all had something in common, and that is the way they delivered it. You felt it. It was undeniable.
mm.
So I love spoken word, and it was real. I love hip hop.
Nah,
Period. Let's just say it outright. All right, because I'm not a rapper,
right.
but I love hip hop. Like I grew up on it, and it's been such a major influence as far as again how I work my craft, and that's why with 888 you'll hear it, even with Healer you'll hear it. I want to try to incorporate some of that emphasis, even though I'm not a rapper. Even this latest project I have, Make Me Feel, which was a song that I released for the first project, Black Dove Blue Song, which I'm having an issue with Level. Level, if you're listening, I'm upset with you. It's a distributor that I was having a problem with. But anyway, you can clip that if you need to.
No,
But
this is live raw. Like, don't say it if you don't mean it.
because no, I mean not for me, for you. I've already contacted them, email. We're not going to get there. I've already tweeted them outright publicly to get their attention. Still no response. But anyway, my songs were lifted from the platforms. Very, very disappointed. So that's why I re-released Why Him. Now I'm re-releasing Make Me Feel, but this Make Me Feel is entirely different. It's completely reimagined. But in the very beginning, you'll hear that little bit of emphasis, that little bit of spoken word hip hop flavor emphasis in the very beginning because it means so much to me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to slip it in where I can,
Right,
you know. I
right.
mean, it's funny. I have a friend. I got being original. He's always like young Eli on the track. He tries to like tease me a little bit.
Yeah.
But hip hop is definitely there. It's like I don't know. I just try to it's like a melting pot. My music. I try to just put everything together, but I don't want it to sound like I want it to sound like stew. I don't want it, you know what I mean, where all the flavors meld together and you can really taste everything. I don't want it to, get too crazy, but yeah, that's my music.
I'm your Huckleberry. Anyway, uh, so you early on you mentioned your inspirations, some very powerful voices, Jill Scott, Alicia Keys, etc.
Yes.
But you do have Dakari has her own signature.
Yes.
So, with those influences and the power of those influences, what type of fight did you have internally
Mm.
to bring out Dakari and not a mashup?
I had to learn not to judge myself.
Mm.
Um, it was, again, because I've been trained. And sometimes when you don't have all the rules, I feel like I could be better off.
For real, for
You
real.
have, it's almost like you have more freedom when you don't know all the rules. And I
Right.
feel like once you know the rules or what you're supposed to do, and everything was clinical.
Okay.
And I wanted to do the best I could to not be clinical. So I had to peel back the layers and I had to get down to what really touched me, how I really felt. And I'll be honest, I mean, I'll be through cuffing season, through even Why Him, through Make Me Feel that's about to come out. It's next week. I tell you, I'm a very sensual person, and it's where I can put the energy. And I had to stop fighting that because I'm kind of old school,
Mm. Okay.
kind of
Okay.
old school. So I had to stop fighting that. I had to just say, okay, this is who I am, and I write sex well. So just do it. Do
Okay.
what you feel. And write what you know. And that's not all I am, of course, but that's what Cuffin Season is. That's what these other songs are. Now I will tell you that there are other layers that you will see in the coming year. I mean, you saw the guitar. I'm sure you've seen, like, I play guitar,
Right.
and I have other songs that are a little bit more kind of like folk soul, kind of
You're
little
very,
different kind of flavor.
you got a nice package
Thank
of
you.
music. So, um, I would presume, since I don't make music, that when you go into a project, you have to be very intentional about
Hmm.
what you're going to deliver. Otherwise, with you being connected so deeply with the different aspects of music, anything might come out and it might be one of them like you go, now nobody's gonna listen to that. I'm all over the place. So talk to me about the focus when you go in to create a project.
I go in there and I don't think, I just feel.
Okay.
Because every time I get wrapped up into thinking, because I'll just feel, because if I think too much, I'll end up thinking, I'll create 4 or 5 different main voices, melodic lines in a song. I tell myself, no, no, just let it go. And I'll like leave something alone for a couple days or a couple weeks.
Mm.
And then I'll go back in with fresh ears and I'll just say, do not think, how does this make you feel? And usually, if I'm playing my guitar, I'll come up with a certain melody on the guitar, some chords, and then it's what does it make me see? What do what do I visualize right now? What story is here? And that's where I begin.
Mm.
That's where I begin. And from there I can tell a whole story. I mean, I have like Girl in the Middle, which is a guitar, it's all guitar, and that's a song about being cheated on. There were pieces that I pulled from real life. There are pieces that, kind of fabricated, but it made sense. And it just sometimes it's kind of like an automatic writing thing. It's like a channeling thing. I don't think about it. That's the best work, is when it just comes out. So I
Yeah.
know that sounds really kind of like okay,
No,
but that's how
no.
I create. It just I don't even think about it. It's like it's almost like somebody has passed. It's like it just comes through.
Mm. Mm.
I'll write a whole poem. I mean, I have a book and I have a lot of pieces where it just unfolds all on its own. The pieces that I work too hard on, those are my least favorite pieces. Those
Mm.
are those are the pieces that I feel like get least complimented too. It's the pieces that just seem to just come out of nowhere. Those are the ones.
The ones that you just
Those,
automatically delivered because of a connection to a situation
To a
or
situation, to a sound, to a
Mhm.
sound.
Yeah, yeah, y'all wild with that. I was at a domino game playing dominoes in the studio with some well-known artists. I was winning, by the way, y'all. Um, I think that's why the song came
He's
up.
like, I was, by the way, I was winning.
Yeah,
This is
I
funny.
was winning, and the reason why I'm even telling this story, y'all know who you are. But I was winning resoundingly,
Nice.
smacking it. Anyway, somebody said something slick. Somebody said, "Oh, that's a hook," and they started working on a song right there in the middle of the domino game that I was winning. And within minutes, they were in the booth,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I couldn't get the official W on the paper.
Mm,
But the song that came out of that booth a month later was freaking amazing.
mm, mm-hmm.
And that's why I was like, okay, you said a sound, it could be a situation. I'm like, okay, I've watched it happen just on the strangest situations. I'm in a domino game. Again, I was winning. And they just got up and left me at the table. So I love those like organic creations, stories. You're like maybe you heard, somebody dropped a plate and you said, "Oh, I like the note that plate hit when it hit the tile."
I swear sometimes it's just that random. It's just that random. I'll if I decide, okay, and I'm really bad with this, but I think this is how you should be. If I'm looking for an instrumental, I will go through dozens.
Mm,
I'll just keep listening and listening. If it doesn't feel right, it'll just hit, like I'll hear it and I'll know. I'll play a chord on my guitar and I have a whole story. I wrote a whole story about a 15-year-old girl about 2 weeks ago. It's basically my 15-year-old self, but
mm.
it's type it's to all 15-year-old girls. It's just about basically not growing up too fast, you know.
It doesn't get easier, and it's not really that glamorous adulting.
No,
You know what I
no,
mean? It's
no, it's not.
not. It's work.
So it was just, but it was just that simple. I was
Mm,
sitting playing my guitar. I came up with a chord and I said, okay. And I just grabbed a piece of paper and then I wrote a verse and a hook
mm.
in a matter of, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, maybe, it was just that fast. And that's how it'll happen. And then, I may edit the verse a little bit here and there to make sure that everything flows perfectly. You know what I mean? I may, oh, I want to add a harmony here, so let me make sure I leave room for that or something like that. That would come later. But the meat and potatoes, it'll be there.
Mm.
So mm.
How many instruments do you play? And on My Way, is that you playing the guitar?
No, it's not playing me. It's not me playing the guitar. I found that I was so mad. I was just like, oh, this is so perfect. But no, that's not me playing. I play guitar, I play flute,
Oh wow.
and I play djembe. I used to go to drum circle and I play djembe. That's more of a spiritual thing though for me. That's not really something I would probably use to perform, at least not now. I do daydream about that though, that maybe one day I can incorporate that.
Wouldn't that go well with the spoken word portion?
I'm telling I
As a musical ad lib to one of your songs. The djembe is a very played well properly is very powerful,
yes it is.
percussion
Yeah.
instrument. So mm,
Yeah, it kind of trances out. I used to use it when I went to drumming for spiritual purposes, just so that it was kind of meditative. I was able to trance out pretty much.
I was going to ask you, and I think you already answered this, but you were talking about songwriting. I just wanted to go back there for a second.
Mhm.
Do you feel that artists, you in particular, are more connected with songs that you write completely without having contributions? The reason why I'm asking that question is
Mhm.
because some of these artists just don't seem convinced about what they're talking about in
You
their
mean when in their performance?
song, period. They're yeah.
Yeah.
They don't seem convinced about what it is they're talking about in their record.
Mm.
And so I always wondered, like, well, did you write that or did you have help? How did the process go? And are you more connected? For me, I could use AI and dictate a story, but I'm more connected to the story if I actually write it.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I get to pour out. I get to pour in and it comes out and people like it or they don't, whatever. But I feel more connected to the story. And I know the story better if I
Hmm.
write it than if I have someone
Oh,
assist or something assist.
right, right. I would say absolutely, because it's a piece of you. It's like kind of cliche to sound, but it's a child. You
Mm,
birthed it. You're connected to it. Um, I have yet to create a song with someone.
mm,
I've done things in the past where I've tried to co-create, and that was it was interesting. It was interesting, but I would absolutely have to say that it's versus me singing a cover. Let's say, absolutely, I'm way more connected to my own work.
okay. Makes sense. I probably
Unless it's something that's like nostalgic, you know what I mean? That reminds me of like the song "Summertime." That was a song that my grandmother sang to me as a lullaby all throughout my childhood. That's a song that I feel connected to, but there's not very many of those.
mm,
You
hey,
know?
that was dope. When you first said it, I'm like, okay, Will and Jazzy got to her. She think that's a Granny was doing the summertime.
Oh, my grandmother loved jazz.
I was talking
She
about
loved
Will and
hip-hop.
Jazz, Jazzy
I'm
Jeff, summertime.
Oh, Jazzy Jeff. Oh my goodness. Summertime.
I was being a smart ass.
Really,
I really
really
was.
need a horn.
I was like, Granny was all up in hip hop. She was up in Will Smith and using it as a lullaby. I'm like, how did that work out? Uh,
Oh gosh. No,
okay.
but I mean, there are some songs though. I mean, that hit me. I don't know. There's a lot. If you're gonna talk about hip hop, there's a song that always hits me. Is Cam A. Cam A with Ghostface, and that song. You know, what song that is. You know, what song that is, don't you?
No, mm-mm, don't.
Oh, it's something never born the same. Goodbye. And they got that distant lover. It's the friggin' it's the sample.
No, but I got you to
What's the
sing on
deal?
video,
What's
so I
the,
won.
what's the deal, Goldilocks? Ain't nothing. I'm just you don't know that song?
No, I
Oh,
don't. I
oh,
don't.
all right. Well, I'm gonna send it to you.
Do that. Do that.
Send
I'm
it to
like,
you.
we got her to sing though. You see her singing? See her singing on the video? Trickeration is real, Jack. Trickeration is real. She volunteered it. Thought, yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Multifaceted. We got to go through this because out of respect for your position at Urban,
Hmm.
we'll come back to the music. But part of her journey, is being editor in chief of Urban Magazine. I love the magazine. I don't get to read it
Thank
as
you.
much, obviously, as I used to when I
Hmm.
was just beginning out in my career. But switching gears between artist and interviewer, podcaster, we'll get to the bigger picture podcast, as well.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, um, talk to me about your experience and your satisfaction in your position as editor in chief. First of all, we don't have a lot of female editor in chiefs for magazines or platforms that have longevity. We got a lot of startups and people thinking they can do it, but this crap is hard. It really is, and it takes a
Oh,
lot. So talk to me.
well, I have to thank Being Original
Of
because he
course.
took a chance on me. He really, really did. I had never been a journalist before.
Mm,
I was good with people,
okay.
and he knew I liked to write. And he was like, "Wow, yeah, you can really write.
Mm.
Why don't you just try to do this interview?" That's how it got started. Why don't you
Ha,
just do this
ha.
interview? And he had me interview Vivian Green.
Okay, okay.
So I interviewed Vivian Green. Great interview.
Not a
She
lightweight
told,
interview.
she told me some no. She told me some off the record stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She opened up
Mm.
and Being Original was like, "Oh, you know what? I think you should do it again.
Mm.
I think you should do this again. I think you should do some more interviews." And at the time, I just started The Bigger Picture, and I wanted him on as like my co-pilot, my co-host. And that's when he was just like, I got more comfortable with just speaking outright to audiences and getting feedback. And he said, "Do some more interviews." I said, "All right." I said, "You know what? I think that we need to do, or at the time, I think you need to do a women's issue for Women's Month, the month of March." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "It's really important." This was back in 2017, 2018, beginning of. And this is when he said, "Okay, you know what? You're going to curate the issue." I said, "Okay." I said, "I don't know if I can do that because I had never done it before." And so he had me curate the issue. I brought on a spiritual uh, person who she did a great interview, Anolia Foti. And then I brought in a few other people. He was able to get Amara La Negra.
I love her.
And
Love her.
yeah, that was when she was like in her Afro
Afro.
stage.
Yeah.
And she was like, she
Right.
was really with it. And I was all over. I was like, absolutely, let's make all this happen. And so we did. And once that happened, it was a wrap. He said, "I want you to be the editor in chief." And then we just took off from there. We did a lot of things for Power. I had those Power interviews that came through that I had to do with the cast. And it just, one thing ran into another. And that's when we sectioned off the magazine and decided to make like August was going to be like art month. I remember there was a whole issue with nothing but photography and visual arts. I wanted to bring in, classical kind of like people that were into classical instruments and they're instrumentalists. I wanted to make sure we included that. I wanted to make sure that people understood that we as a people in our culture, that we are not monolithic,
Mm.
and that we have younger people see that we are not monolithic and you can be anything. We are doing everything. So but I mean, it can be tricky because you still have to make sure. It's almost like kind of like we still have to make sure you're paying the bills. So it's like sometimes you have to make decisions that aren't necessarily what you would always want to do. So sometimes I have, that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Uh,
I understand.
but you need balance, but you also need balance. So, but now, I mean, we've been doing it together for a while, so I've acclimated. I've acclimated.
On top of that, you have the personal project, the bigger picture.
Yes.
Um, and talk to us about the bigger picture. And I don't want to ruin it. I just want you to tell them like this is what we're into over here.
The bigger picture is about perspective. It is about not just getting wrapped up in these little minute, things in life that distract you. Again, when I wanted to make sure, even for urban, you have to make decisions, and sometimes it's like, well, I'd rather this, but we have to do that to have balance. And the bigger picture was a space where I don't always have to do that. Bigger picture is like, no, no, no. I get to talk to who I want to talk to, and I'm going to talk to them not just about their careers. I want to talk to them about how they work, who
Mm.
they are on a personal level. What are you contributing to life? I mean, great. Your art is fantastic. That's great. I'm an artist too. I don't say that in my interviews, of course, but as an artist, I want to know what moves other people. I want to know, like, where's your integrity? Where's your character? What legacy are you working on? What are you going to leave behind? That is so important because all the rest of it, the attention seeking that some people do, or money, all that's going to go away. It doesn't matter. That's all superficial. That's all smoke and mirrors. This industry is big smoke and mirrors. So I want to know who the people are, and I want to know, and I want other people to watch and be inspired. Like, for example, when I interviewed Aaliyah Sheffield, she was amazing. Just like she was just so raw. London Brown, everything that he contributes, just so raw. Uh, I want other people to see the world as people, and it's all about gaining perspective, and it's all about the bigger picture. Because if you don't gain perspective, you don't widen your gaze, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it, and you're going to miss life.
Yeah, to coin the phrase of one of my friends, Taj Longino, wake up, goddammit.
Yeah.
Or
I
you
mean,
can
there's so
miss.
much going on out there. I just saw some things today. I received a video of the young man in Ohio. I don't know if you saw it with the trucker. He got stopped and because of a mud flap, and they let the
Yes.
dog out on him. I cried. I cried hearing him cry. I cried. And these are the stories that are really important that, we talk about. For example, I forget which actor was just mentioning how, like, there was a journalist that mentioned to him when she was interviewing him, why is it that, there aren't more Black media, reporting, or you guys don't want to talk to Black media as often. Like, why is this still occurring? We need to make sure that our stories are heard. So don't just skip over us and go to the bigger, wider outlets. You know, if you want your story told and you are for the people and you are for the community, for the culture, you need to talk to us. We actually care. We're not in it because you're trending.
This is true. We're wearing the same uniform, so
That's
uh,
what I'm saying.
right.
So
But
that's what I feel like with urban. That's the emphasis I know on urban, and that's the emphasis on the bigger picture. You know.
I am very mean to the point of being disrespectful when it comes to the use of the King's English
Mm.
and presentation of words on paper or whatever. And I'm going to be honest. After reviewing and viewing some of even our major urban outlets, Black outlets,
Mm-hmm.
the writing quality is not there. The storytelling is not there. There's no journalistic integrity because now you're going on rumors and innuendo as opposed to a well researched and defined story that keeps you neutral, unless it's an op ed.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the
They're not
quality of
reporting.
writing, they can't freaking write. And same with some of these damn publicists. Y'all can't write.
And well,
Emails suck, pictures
they
suck.
don't they don't know how to report. They don't know how to report. They
Right,
they they know they interject. They put themselves into the story.
right.
There's a whole lot of things I have had to let people go
Mm,
because of, like you said, they can't write. I didn't know what I was reading. I was appalled that you called this, and oh well, I worked for such and such. I'm not going to say what the other outlet was. And I talked to Ben. I said, "Oh no, oh no, we have to this what she's got to go." There was another. As far as the publicists are concerned, not all, of course. I don't want to make a generalization, but there are some publicists that I see that their professionalism needs some work, to say the least, and they need to be worried about their clients and not worrying about being the star. Just saying,
There
you know.
TI is.
So there's you're right. There's a lack of professionalism, and there's a lack of wanting to be professional. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that it's great within our culture. We, when we're having conversations with our friends, when you're playing dominoes, when we're playing spades, when we're at the cookout, the barbecue, that's different.
Right.
But if we are in mixed company, we're in public,
Mm-hmm.
we're reporting.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know what I mean? It's really important that we exhibit excellence in every way possible. And the only way to do that is to be your best. Don't think that, I mean, I don't like parts of the culture that glorify the hood. Don't get me wrong, I grew up in the hood. Don't romanticize it. Stop. And I have a real problem with, people thinking that it's cool to dumb themselves down. It's not white to be smart, and there's certain level of black excellence that I feel like that's not black excellence. Don't do that.
Mm.
I catch myself doing that sometimes as I'm scrolling through my timeline.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's again, everybody's it's out there for consumption. It's out there for judgment. But I just feel like, I mean, we are doing better than we have been doing.
Agreed.
When it comes to certain things. I'm glad that we have our own outlets. I'm glad that but there are certain businesses that they need to show up better for us.
I would agree, especially for those that serve up good quality product, good news reporting, good coverage. I think, you know, and I'm only on this because of your early comment about, our people not supporting black outlets. Our level of professionalism hasn't been as a collective.
Mm, as
Everybody has
collective.
as a collective, everybody has growing pains as individuals and as outlets and things like that. But as a collective, we haven't delivered the best. We've gone more for the shocking and the clickbait
Gossip.
gossip kind of thing. And that that doesn't, put you in a tier one status as far as product.
It's true.
And we already were, you know, relegated to tier four on the 1 to 4 scale.
Mm.
Urban outlets were already in tier four, while the white outlets and of course, Ebony and Jet were tier one but they were limiting us to Jet and
Hmm.
Ebony
And Ebony and Essence and
and Essence. Well, Essence was always for women,
yeah, that's true.
so that was segmented. That was a whole different thing. You know what I mean? Because nobody like me, a brother like me, is not writing about Jerry curls, S curls, protein dips, and none of that stuff. Because I'm just an old kind of grunt. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm.
not that refined. My mother was a hairstylist, but all I did was sweep the floor and wash her towels. You know what I mean? And keep her company and DJ. So all the other stuff, I'm not qualified to do that level. But
Hmm.
the bottom line is we as a collective haven't delivered top-notch journalism. Our local newspapers, the black-owned newspapers in these major cities, they try, but they've been blocked out not only by the other side, but by our side too.
That's what I was gonna say. That
Yeah.
the issue is it's still being dumbing down as children. It starts even from very young that it's white to be smart. it it just really it evolves in a negative way. It grows in a way that by the time we get to our teen years, we get to our 20s, we've been cool, cool,
Mm-hmm.
where uh it's acceptable. It's norm. It's the norm. It's become so ingrained in not all, but we're making generalizations here. But it's been so ingrained for the most part in our culture that, you know, that's why we're ball players and we're rappers and we're singers and, more of us need to be writers, real journalists. More of us need to be lawyers. More of us need to be, lawmakers and doctors.
Please do.
Um,
We need more lawmakers. We need more
yes,
lawmakers. Do
we
you see what these fools are doing? Come on now.
do. We
Mm,
know we really, really do.
mm.
Uh, so it's just it it kind of saddens me. I just felt like I just felt so but but yeah, it's what needs to happen. It needs to start, in school. It needs to start with the younger generation. I feel like the younger generation coming up behind us, that are in their late teens and 20s, those that are in college. I feel like they are trying to make a difference. But I still feel like those from 25 to 50, it's like we're still struggling. We're still struggling with our own identity. And I think it has a lot to do with kind of like that Baby Boy movie with Tyrese. It's,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you never, it's like you get to a certain point and you just don't mature. And I
Yeah,
think that we need to do that. And I think that therefore it'll go into every other facet, including journalism.
yeah.
um, then we'll be able to, I mean, it's such a complicated situation because, I'm thinking about just all of the glass ceilings and how music is even marketed in a way that's negative for us, to keep us down, but then that's what we're asking for too. It's like a supply and demand kind of thing. We want this music. We want to hear like the misogynistic music, let's say, right? All right, let's get real.
Let's get to it. Here we go.
Misogynistic music, right? So the misogynistic music is something that is derogatory towards women, but women want to hear it. So it's like it's one of those kind of things, in our culture that we're battling this internal struggle on, we want to be respected as women and everything else, and we're independent and we're strong, but we're still going to go listen to this song that degrades us, and we are going to go, twerk. I was really upset about what happened at the Essence Festival. I hated it. When I saw those videos, I hated it. And I'm all about women's liberation and everything else, and you being able to be sexually or, empowered and everything. There's a difference between being empowered and being a hoe.
Freaknik still lives.
And I'm just speaking very candidly because that's how I feel. I have posted about it in the past. It gets crickets. Just as far as, you know, don't be empowered, but not hypersexualized.
I'm a man, and therefore I don't really feel uh that I have the right to discuss, the woman's experience coming up in America, let alone within the music culture.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a father of 6 and a grandfather of 15.
God bless you.
Shit, thank you. Because
Mm. 6
see,
and 15. Oh,
see,
it's a lot of people.
oh Lord. Well, my youngest, she's 16.
Mm.
she has some sense. I don't know how she pulled that off, in except for the fact that we parent and
Mm-hmm.
we teach them. So um,
That's that younger generation I was talking about. I'm telling you, I think this younger generation, they got their heads on pretty straight, I
it's a
think.
it's a generation of babies raising babies.
Yeah.
You think about it, and
Yeah.
and it's a systemic thing, whether people want to acknowledge or not. The long con or the long plan to control families and take power away from parents, especially in urban communities where we had to be very strict, and we were very, treated very strictly
Mm-hmm.
because there was there were skills needed to survive in an openly hostile period of time coming up. I was born, there were still whites only, you know, water
Mm-hmm.
fountains and things. So, survival skills and uh, back to the Black excellence thing. Uh, grew up around educators and bankers, and
Mm-hmm.
they said, look, we have to have these skills in order to preserve the community. Um, Black power has its place, but real power behind the scenes in the smoky rooms is where we win.
Mm-hmm.
Going. So they've been conniving for a long time. So here we are now, like I said, babies
Mm-hmm.
raising babies. The elders are afraid to speak to the kids because the
Yeah.
kids want to beat them down or shoot up, shut up,
That's
you don't know nothing. Like, yo, and it's just deteriorating. We're just talking now as Black people, a Black man and a Black woman watching this world and our next generations not be taught skills that we were taught of. You know,
well, there's
more
no sense of fear. Not the right kind, I
not
think.
right.
I grew up, my father was in the military. I grew up, my whole life was boot camp.
Right.
Uh he placed some very necessary fear in me. And the problem is that these children don't there's a line between respect and fear, but they don't have it. If they're not going to learn respect, then they need to learn some fear. And what I mean by that is that there's repercussions. These
Mm-hmm.
kids don't seem to realize that there are repercussions for their actions, and they have a lack of caring,
It's
lack of
hard to
indifference.
it's hard to care, have respect, or fear if you can hit the freaking reset button and come back to life all
Yeah, you mean
day,
these video
every day.
games?
You feel me? Yeah, video games and whatnot. I deployed to Afghanistan. My last deployment to Afghanistan, I had a bunch of first time kids, and you know, there came a day when those kids had to wake up and choose
Mm-hmm.
and understand that if we didn't take care of business today, we might not go home.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reset, there's no do over.
Right.
We came up in a society, and, God rest his soul, Emmett Till, didn't
Mm-hmm.
do anything. But during a period of time when a Black man couldn't say mm-mm-mm or whistle at the other side without fear of your life, losing
Mm-hmm.
your life. And maybe not just you, they burn your whole house down, make your whole family homeless. These were the things that our forefathers, our grandparents, great grandparents taught us to be aware of
Mm-hmm.
and how to avoid and to see that crap coming. They also
Yeah.
taught us critical thinking. How do we figure out this problem? How do we figure out this problem so we can survive and move on? These kids now don't have any of that. And the
No.
system slowly took away that power. To me, it's long con. If you can't, and I know corporal punishment is not seen as something that's, civilized or whatever, but it got my attention. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can't yell at them, you can't raise your voice.
Oh, you talking about spanking?
Yeah, I don't know nothing about Spain. I got whoopings. my folks who from the South,
I
I
never
got
got the
whoopings.
switch. I never got the switch. I
I
never
had to
got the switch.
climb the tree and get my own a
Nah,
couple
I didn't get
times.
to it. I had the belt. The belt. I could if I could hear the cling 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 of the buckle, I was
Yeah,
like
run,
the fear that
yeah,
would ripple through you, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
um, but yeah, it's you but you know what's interesting? I have a child.
Mm,
I don't put my hands on her,
mm,
but she has the fear of God in her. I think I've had to like give her a hot hand when she was a toddler. You know what I mean? Like things
mm.
like that. I think I popped her in the mouth when she was 5. No,
Got
she
that
knows when
attention.
she. I'm sorry.
You got her attention immediately.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She knows the line. Um, but you mentioned something that you parent your child. A lot of people don't parent their kids, and sometimes you don't have to necessarily whoop them to get them to listen. You just need to parent. You need to pay attention, and whatever that calls for at the time to get their attention. If it is to a point where you feel like you got to get their attention physically. I mean, I have, again, I try my best to not go there with her just because I'm trying a different method than how I was brought up. Again, I don't need to because I think those couple times in her younger years got her attention and I don't ever have to do that again. She knows the line. Um, but again, I parent though too. I'm always connected to her. I always check in with her. I make sure that I know where she is in here,
Mm,
you know, and I don't think enough parents do that. I don't just sit her in front of a screen and walk away. Or I don't want to be bothered, so I'm gonna go ahead, put the TV on or go hang out with your friends, get out of my face. I don't do that. And I mean she'll be 12, so she's getting there. She's
mm.
getting there. But again, I parent though, I spend time with her. I do things that I don't really want to do just because she wants to do them and I know that there's a connection there. And I think that we need that in our communities more. I think we need more community activities. There's no major after school programs. I remember there's no going outside anymore. That's the problem too.
Mm.
All this
Heavy.
technology, kids are not going outside. They need to go outside. That's the problem. They get on these phones. You even have adults. I'll be straight up. These adults, so they act like they ain't never been slapped or punched in the face
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because you need to get off. I mean, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
They should refrain from speaking the way they do
Oh.
on their timelines because they act as though like they're really big, bad, and scary behind their phones. And I think again that also happens with the teenagers and the younger kids. They think they can just mouth off. There's no repercussions. There's no fear. There's no, anxiety like, okay, I better wash my mouth because so and so, might have a problem with that. They just nope, it's on the phone.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me, because I turned them down for a story.
Mm.
Whoop de whoop de bam de bam, don't try me. Okay. I had time that day. And I just said, consider yourself tried. Want me to drop a pin? You want to drop a pin? I spent my entire life, adult life in the military, doing damage to people as a professional damage dealer. I wasn't always a journalist. So I'm, one of the waning few who really, don't care. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to let you drag me down the rabbit hole with you. You know,
Right.
I'm going to ignore you. And if I can't ignore you, you persist. Okay. I'll converse with you on whatever level you feel you need to. But
Yeah.
we've talked about everything. We have talked. I'm so glad that you came on. I'm so glad that you allowed me uh, to draw you down this path because I always want to emphasize that someone of your stature is more than the music. You're a great artist. You're a great teacher, a great spoken word person. I don't know
I
if you call it
appreciate.
an art spoken word artist, performer. How does that go? What's the politically correct
I
spoken
a
word
spoken
artist?
word artist.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, because that's art. That is definitely
Yeah.
art. And you're an executive, a media executive, and a creative that's driving I think it's a great podcast. I
Thank you.
believe that the program opens up the floor for conversations. So I didn't want to just be stuck on music. I get that all day. And
Hmm.
you're so much more valuable to the fabric of our community
I
than
appreciate
just
that.
that one thing. So I want to make sure that we touch, but we can get back to the music now if that's what you want to do. Because otherwise, we're gonna light somebody up. I'm getting emotional, pissed off, angry,
I
and
know. I know. I was like, wait a minute.
yeah, yeah, that
Let me
woo
bring it
saw
back down.
no.
No,
Uh,
yeah, because
yeah.
it's just, that that's why I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'll go on there, I'll post something, and then I'm like, all right, get off. Just get off.
I
I I've gotten to the point where my algorithm is like puppies and kittens.
I do nothing. I very seldom post. I go through, I think I try to limit my responses to like hashtag indeed or something if I agree with
Right.
it. I do sometimes get a little long-winded on important topics. You know, the young lady who did what she did recently.
Carly.
Yeah, her. I'm not going to say her name. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
The situation such. But what I really felt
Mm.
was the community did what it was supposed to do. It activated on
Yes.
behalf of the issue because we have a betrayer in our midst that used the issue doesn't mean that we need to stop reacting, that
This
we
is true.
need to stop coming together as a community and making people pay attention. You know, there are charlatans in every industry, in every walk of life. And,
Mm.
you can't let one. You just, you get rid of that bad apple and move on and understand that, there are a bunch of them down there that are sweet, juicy, 100% developed and ready to go in the mix with some of those other
Oh,
ones.
oh, oh.
Uh-oh, what happened? You all right?
I'm fine. It's no, it my cat.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
There
okay,
he goes. He's laying down now.
okay. It's all good. That changed the framing real quick. I'm like, what the heck? We're going on a ride. She taking us on a ride. You
So
know,
sorry.
no, no, you're fine.
Bailey. Oh my goodness.
Human moments. Once again, thank you. I apologize if
Absolutely.
I did interject myself into this conversation more than I intended to, but you kind of brought the conversation out and we moved from interview to conversation. And so I felt it was okay for me to join in. I felt like I had permission. But was there anything that you wanted to cover that I may have neglected?
Well, I know I mentioned my book. I guess it wasn't love. That was an experience. My first book. I am working on another book.
Okay, okay.
That's 2024 though. Um, I'll divulge more hints and clues come, as we get to 2024.
This is gonna happen.
And I have a new project too that I'll also be coming out with in 2024. So that's going to be an acoustic project. So
I'm excited about the music. Are you ever
excellent.
going to do like a completely spoken word project by
I have an Audible book on
Okay,
Audible. For I guess it wasn't love, but yes, yes,
I think that's
I do
exciting.
want to do a completely spoken word project. I was so happy that they actually included the category in the Grammys. This is
Fine.
new,
Yeah, yeah,
finally.
yeah.
So it's definitely something that I have in the works too. There's so much that I want to do. There's not enough hours in a day.
Not with three
So
jobs. You
no.
podcast, EIC, and artist. And
Yes.
an artist who not only sings her stuff, she writes her own stuff. That's
Yes.
really involved. That takes time. I know you said something about, whipping out a song in 10 or 15 minutes. And, if you have that special talent, you could do that. But is it standard? Is that standard for you? 10, 15 minutes once the idea pops in, you get it
Oh, I
done?
mean, again, that's just for like me to have that, like I said, the meat and potatoes. The idea is there, and then I
Reference.
grab it, and then but then I let it evolve.
Mm,
Kind of like it's like when you let something, you put something on the stove and it's on sim. You put everything in the pot, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let this cook down a little bit,
mm.
and then you just add more and more spices to it. And then like a sauce or a stew, it's like you give it some time, and then that's when all the flavors meld together, and it just gets better and better. Like that comes with like the editing.
Mm.
So,
She ain't figured out. She just can't use that tone of voice all the time.
oh,
Can't.
when I speak,
Hey, hey.
so, you know what I mean? You know, when he talk to you right now, I can talk like that if you'd like. I can bring it down.
I got it on recording. I got it on recording. I can play it back when I want to. Anyway, y'all crazy.
And Make Me Feel, and before I forget, Make Me Feel is coming out. It's definitely got some spoken word-ish stuff. There's also some singing, a lot of rich harmonies. Again, that's going to be remastered and reimagined. So,
What was the most satisfying part now that you're getting ready to bring it back and
mhm.
put some additional touches on it? What was the most satisfying part about creating it again?
That I at the time when I first created it, I was in a studio with other people.
Mm,
And again, that inhibited part, that kind of distracted. Um, I didn't get a chance to really go over everything that I wanted to. And I had a chance to live with it for a while too, the original.
hmm.
And I heard so many other harmonies because the first one was more like a performance track,
Okay.
didn't have a lot of rich harmonies to it. This one has a lot of harmonies to it. It's almost, especially towards the end, like the way everything just, again, it marries together, that it just felt more complete. I felt like it was more of a complete body of work. It wasn't just a fragment. Now I have had people hear the first one and they like the first one. They're like, don't say that about the first one. But for me, it was like a fragment. It was just the beginning. And now I feel like this is the evolved piece. This is the evolved concept. So I was glad that I had a chance to, that I went ahead and I went back and worked on it again, because sometimes people don't want to rework on things. They just want to say, okay, this is what I worked on. This is how it is. And yes, you do have to learn how to walk away from your art too. That's something I've had to learn, because I'll work on something and work on something and fine tune something like my poetry and per se. I'll work on a poem until like it's perfect, until I feel like it's done.
I try to tell people, there's only so many strokes that you could put into a painting before you ruin the
well,
masterpiece, and you have to
well,
start over.
sometimes though it depends on your perspective, because as you evolve and your perspective changes, you may look at something and go, yeah, that was nice before, but I see the light differently now. I hear that chord differently now.
Mm.
So now I want to, you know what I mean? I want to make it grow. I want
So,
to elaborate on that. It's almost like how they used to write the symphonies,
mhm.
and they'd have the four different movements,
Right.
and it was like an elaboration each time on just the one general concept. That's kind of like what Make Me Feel is. It was just like I had the opportunity to take it and elaborate on that concept. And now it's a song.
Right. So this would, I mean, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. So would this be almost like a deluxe edition of that particular song?
I would say yes. I would
Okay.
say yes. And the beat doesn't drop. The bass line doesn't drop until the middle of the song this time.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. I can't. I
it's
can't
it
wait.
there's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more voices and layers
Okay.
where it doesn't. I almost I when I was mixing this myself because I mixed it myself, mastered it myself. I was
Wow.
mixing this. Yeah, I was mixing this, and I was listening to the voices just a cappella, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really dope with no music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
you've got the voices. You've got the voices, and on the spoken word part, especially 888. I'm like, okay, I never really heard somebody deliver like that. I watched Malcolm Jamal Warner do his thing, and I'm like,
mm-hmm,
he's pretty good, but he never had that Theo Huxtable impact with me. His
mm-hmm,
spoken word,
mm-hmm,
you know, the power that he had on screen, the way he delivered there, the spoken word didn't touch me the same way. But maybe it wasn't meant for me. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
And I'm fine with that. I wasn't ready to receive it or something, but I'm too old to go back and revisit it. But what I like about what I hear from you is it meets me where I'm at. And as a grown person,
mm-hmm.
people don't understand what I'm talking about in this day and age. They think it's all about age. No, being grown is up here
Mm-hmm.
and in your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone speaks to you on that same plane and you go, okay, like some people found their Frank Sinatra or, Tony Bennett. We have Dakari Eli, who's popping in here and making standards not so standard.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all got to be musicians to understand what I just said. I'm trying. I just
I
played it.
and well, it's funny now when it came to like when you talk about even like the spoken word part, and I grew up listening to a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but my dad played a lot of soul. He played a lot of like old school soul music, and there were again the tonality of the music
Mm-hmm.
from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. But you know what I mean? I'm really kind of talking about the 60s and 70s, the tonality. And they used to talk. They talked on their albums.
Right.
They meant what they said. And it was that level of like they kind of it was like very evocative when they spoke. And that's what I wanted on 888. That's what whenever I speak, on like or like a most high or a healer whenever I speak or even in and out in the very beginning. It's just I always incorporate the speaking part because it's very evocative and it comes from a place that's kind of it's just intangible, and I'm hoping to evoke something in people. I wanted people to listen to Cuffing Season and I wanted people to make love. That was my goal, or at least obviously, you know what I mean? I
It was
want them to.
baby making music. Fine, we finally said it. Okay.
you know, it was
Yes.
really important. I wanted to evoke that feeling of you know, of desire, sensuality. And it happens, your voice is such a powerful instrument, just a speaking voice.
Right.
You don't have to necessarily be a singer to have a very seductive or provocative tone. So
It was all that, but you really did it with power in class. You know what I mean? It wasn't. It,
yeah, oh no,
was.
yeah.
It was. It was
That
no.
comes with age. That comes with age.
That comes with being grown folks.
Grown folks.
Grown folks. You know what I mean? And so, let's talk about your first book. Talk to
I
me. You said, I guess it wasn't love.
guess it wasn't love.
Talk to me. I probably know what it's about, but I have learned in my age as brother to nine sisters, not to assume I know
with a
what
woman.
woman is talking about. So
I
holla at
guess
me.
it, I guess it wasn't love. First of all, there's a poem that's supposed to be a song that's still sitting in my Mac
Mm,
right now called
mm,
I Guess It Wasn't Love.
mm,
And it was about being in a relationship, and not just the one relationship, but it seems like, you go through a relationship, you fall in love with them, and you share all these experiences, intimate and otherwise. And you feel in those moments that it's gonna last.
mm.
And then when it all ends, you kind of like, guess that wasn't it either. I guess, it's kind of like I am a student of love, you know. I think we all are.
Mm.
You get to these places with people and you are vulnerable and you encourage them to be vulnerable, but they're not always so vulnerable with you. You only have you. You only have who you really are. Sometimes you can talk yourself into being in love with someone
Mm.
and think they love you. Talk yourself into thinking that they love you too, only to realize
Mm.
that it wasn't really love.
Yeah.
It wasn't true love. It's me, and I feel like a lot of young people, they skip and dive and fall in love, and because the sex is great or because of how the person makes them feel in the moment, you know. Um, but what is love? What is it? It's like this nebulous, ever changing, ever evolving um, state of being,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So that's what I guess it wasn't love. And it's about learning how to love yourself. And the deeper you love yourself, the more you're going to understand and know if it's really love or not. And I
Yes.
went through a lot of frogs, a lot of frogs.
Hey, my sister, one of my sisters, she says, there's a lot of fish in the sea. I said, there's a lot of trash too, a lot of pollution.
A lot of pollution in yes.
You gotta take your time. Quit going through all this for no reason.
You
Uh,
have to, or you're just gonna find yourself unhappy. If you're not happy, you know what it is? I feel like sometimes people use love as an excuse as to not really do the work on themselves.
right.
They use the relationship, you know. You have got to do the work if you really want to find love. And that's what I guess it wasn't love is about.
I would like to submit that, the now I know it, right? The yin and yang.
Mm,
Love, there's two parts to it. Love is something that you're willing to die for,
hmm
but it's also something you'll enjoy living for. You know,
right.
the dark and the light side. And
hmm
too many people live on the dark side.
hmm
It's okay to acknowledge it, but concentrate on the light side because that's what's going to give you longevity. That's, you know, going to develop and motivate someone to give you succor when you need it, when you're having a down day, when
hmm
your goblet is empty and it's down to droplets, they're going to be there to refill it. So I don't want to go in. I don't go in. Anyway, I would like to know your best methodology for maintaining your sanity as a multifaceted person. Mother,
being a mom,
yeah.
being a mom, she is everything that I need to
Mm,
help keep me grounded. You know
mm,
what I mean? My family. That's really a big. I am so close to both my parents. and my brother, and I have a nephew.
Okay.
Very, very close knit as far as immediate family. Um, and meditation, my walking. I walk every single morning. I walk a trail every single morning in the woods with trees because it helps keep me grounded.
Mm.
Because I tend to have so many ideas, I tend to be very cerebral that I need to make sure my feet are on the ground. So that's what I do.
Yeah. You know, living in your brain
Mm-hmm.
as I call it, our personal construction site,
Mm-hmm.
where the foundations are built for things and it's our job site. We go to work, we put work clothes on our dreams and get to business, right? And
Mm-hmm.
with you as a creative on multiple scales, the spoken word, the singing, and the thoughts of how to translate your music into a rap like ice tray. uh, where do you feel like a person who's just experiencing you or wants to experience you, where do they start with you musically?
Mm. I guess I would say that, I mean, this is an excellent question. Uh, where do I hope that they start, at least? I would hope that they would take the time to really listen to some of the lyrics. Uh, because it's really about how I'm communicating, conveying. It's the lyrics and then the emotion with the tonal, arrangement. When I say certain things like flooded my ceiling, I'm not just saying that in a way that is sexual. I'm saying it in a way where the the tears in my eyes have welled.
Mm,
I'm saying it in a way that, you know, it's like overcome. A flood is like water's emotion. So I'm flooded over with emotion. I've met my brim crying. I've met my ceiling top. It's it's this overwhelming sense,
mm,
of emotion. And that's just something that's just one phrase from Why Him. But it's like I want people to really, really comprehend the art of it all. That kind of back in the day they had like these symphonic poems, like this old school, old. This
mm,
is the stuff I learned for my degree. But like symphonic poems, or they would uh, they would work their music and poetry together, and it's just really important that when those two come together, that you really, it's a picture you can actually visualize. It's like it's complicated. It's almost like I'm trying to describe. I'm trying to describe my multi-layered perspective when I create. It's like I almost like it's so I'm so visual in my head. It's like a meditative process. And I'm just hoping that people can get there with me. I don't know. It's just I'm kind of weird, I guess. It's like this whole meditative process of being able to have, it's like having all the chakras connected, you know,
mm,
whether it's your root and your sacral, which is sexual, and you're planted and you're grounded, all the way through your heart and your crown, you know, and just being aligned. And, I'm hoping that people can sense it all. That's why, I mean, like I talk about it, like in Most High, I'm talking about making him God. I'm talking about him being God, my lover. You know
mm.
what I mean? I'm talking about how I am your God, you know, and in that union that happens when you have sex. When you every time people have sex, it's like it's this spiritual union, whether you like it or not, whether if it's just for the night or not. You are imprinting on one another, you know. You have the possibility of becoming God by creating another person.
Mm.
So it's not to be taken lightly. And when I make music, it's kind of like all that poetry, all the visualization, all the everything, it all comes together in my music. That's the best way. I'm trying to describe it. It's really hard.
No, you know what? It's beautiful, actually, um, to see you work through it, for
Yeah.
yourself. And that's why I just sat here, didn't say nothing. Because I'm like,
I'm
she gonna get there. She gonna get there.
trying. I'm trying to make it. Trying to make it
Look,
make sense.
but you know what does make sense is everything that I've heard from you musically. Um, you're amazing. You're powerful,
I
and
appreciate that.
a needed voice in the fabric of the music community. And I don't say urban music or R&B or whatever because not only are you a crooner, you know what I mean, and that's beyond being a songstress, in my opinion. A crooner. I've only called a couple of people crooners before. Luther being among those, and crooners.
Oh wow.
Jeffrey Osborne,
That's a very high
crooners.
compliment. Thank you.
You have that.
Very
You
compliment.
have that juice. Look, our ladies who are from that era who held the crown and the throne, they're slowly leaving us. You know,
Mm-hmm. This is true.
and so shining a light on someone who can, I feel, in modern day, can step in and deliver that punch that we need from that
Hmm.
angle. I'm excited to do it. So
Thank you. I really do appreciate you interviewing me tonight. I really do. It's excellent. You okay?
yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I honestly I can't thank you enough for this. And I can't, I really, I mean, you are so supportive. I mean, I know being original so supportive. I have so many people that are backing me and help keep the battery in my pack, so to speak, going. And I'm honored. And I because I have so much respect for you and so much respect for what you do for the culture as well.
I'm just a guy.
Mm.
I'm having a good time, you know, trying to aid and assist where I possibly can. I don't
Hmm.
I don't want to do any harm. So as
Hmm.
long as I'm not doing any harm, then I'm good. But thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate it. I will continue. Um, it's cliche to ask a woman nowadays about their experience in the entertainment industry. So I'm going to flip it and just ask you as a business person who has their own imprint.
Hmm.
Uh, was it Black Love? Black Dove.
Black Dove.
Black Dove. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't have my notes. This is just from memory. So
That's okay.
trust me, I'm on you. I really do support what you're doing.
I
So,
appreciate that.
um, lost my train of thought. That comes, man, please. I would like to know
Hmm.
what was the biggest surprise about the music business, the business part of the music business, when you got deeply involved the way that you are. Don't put nobody on blast. You don't have to do that, but
No, I'm not. Wasn't even going there. Um, you know, can I put you on hold just for 1 second? Just for 1 second?
yeah, I'll pause the. Yeah, I appreciate your artistry. I appreciate the attention to detail in everything that you do. Um, your journalism, your storytelling, um, certainly sparked me to have an interest in spoken word,
Mm,
which I really didn't. I was like, eh. But I've been on TikTok watching some of these spoken word gatherings that they do. I'm like, okay, these people are spitting knowledge. There are gems
yes.
being thrown just right there for the taking. And so it's definitely something that I will expand. You've expanded my horizon. And I appreciate that. So, once again, woman comes to the rescue, man, man getting mired down in the BS. And here she goes, it's a spoken word, like, and put it down to the point where you like, oh, got to pay attention to what's going on in that. And that, as a professional, expanded my horizon. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Aw.
I wish you much continued success. You have my support any way that I can possibly give it. And
I can't thank you enough. Seriously.
no thanks
And I
needed.
think
We're colleagues. I think we're becoming friends, and I would enjoy that very much. That's a precious title for me.
friend. Oh, same.
So definitely move towards that, and let's continue to build and support. I'll support each other. Definitely keep making great music. Just incredible, incredible.
I'm so that like that touches me. I can't tell you how much because I held back for so long. I always thought that,
Mm-hmm.
I always doubted myself. I always doubted myself. I never thought that I was vocally um, good enough. I don't know. I think a lot of artists, I think there are a lot of people that kind of go through that with whatever their craft is, you know. Um, but I didn't have a lot of people in my corner.
Mm.
Um, I had a lot of people that were very competitive with me instead of supportive. So I've had to really push this ball, you know what I mean, up this mountain on my own for a long time. Um, but it made me stronger because you're not doing it for everybody else. You're doing it for you. You have to start asking yourself the whys, with whatever you do, whether it's the podcast or it's a publication, why are you a writer type thing, what legacy are you leaving behind? And, so I had to start asking myself, well, why am I doing it? Why do I want to sing? Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to express myself in spoken word and poetry? Poetry kind of is like I just have to.
Mm.
It's the way it's my language. It's the way I think.
Okay.
Period. But when it came to doing actual spoken words, I'm still working on it. There are so many, like you said, there's so many people out there that are doing spoken word that are phenomenal artists that have so much to say and they really have found their voices. I'm still working on mine, but I'm getting there. I'm getting
Amazing journey. I'm happy to be
there.
watch it and hear it as you go through it. And I look forward to one day you saying, I got it, Eureka. And I mean, like, you had it 10 years ago. Just refuse to acknowledge the greatness, and it's okay. I understand getting comfortable, uh, you know, with acknowledging that you're great. And I'll tell you from the outside, you're great.
Thank you.
I love it. I love the direction of the magazine. I love the direction of the music. Love the direction of the podcast.
Thank you.
Definitely have a friend here. And until next time,
Thank you. I
Dakari
appreciate you.
Eli. Amazing. Y'all go check out that 888. I'm telling you, it's life changing. It's life changing. All right. Until next time, we are.
All right. Bye.
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
Cause I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
Cause I'm black.
It's really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out the Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the Hype Magazine Network.